Let's now go back to our top story and, of course, the tragic news about the death of veteran radio personality Bob Mabena. He has died today at the age of 51. Radio broadcaster DJ Fresh joins us now. Good evening, DJ Fresh. And it is such a tragic story, really. 51 years old, a man in his prime. And we're saying goodbye to him. I would have imagined that you met during Metro Days. Just tell us about when you first met Bob Mabena.
No. Hi, firstly. Hi, and thanks for having me on your show. Greetings to all of your viewers. No, geez. My relationship with Bob goes back to when I started radio in 1992. He was at Radio Bop.
Wow.
So I started radio literally fresh out of high school. And I remember I used to do a Saturday show. And I think, him and Glenn Lewis and Titch Mataz, they were the big stars at Radio Bop at the time. And so I was like a massive fan. And then he moved, the Metro poached him. He went to Metro. So he'd often be booked for gigs in Botswana. And that's how we first met. So I was like the local star at that gig, and he was the international guest DJ, I guess, from Johannesburg. And our relationship started then. I think I was 19, 20 years old, and he was this mega Metro, like a radio Metro DJ. But he took a liking to me, and he was always kind to me. He was always gentle with me. I mean, I remember 95, I relocated to Johannesburg to study. And because he'd given me his number, I told him that, listen, I'm moving to Joburg. And he was like, listen, if ever you need anything, you know where to find me. If you want to come and shadow me at the Radio Metro studios, you know where to find me. So he's always just been that bigger brother to me. Mm. And it blew my mind that, you know, he didn't have to be nice to me. He didn't have to be, he didn't have to mentor me at the level that he did, but he chose to. Mm-hmm. And for me, that's one thing that I'll always appreciate about him. That, you know, whether it was, for instance, I remember at the time I found, I think he had a gig in Botswana, and I was studying here. And I told him, listen, Bob, I need to go home. And as you know, I'm a student, I'm on a budget. He's like, no, man, come to Sandton City. I've got an appearance there, then we'll drive together to Bops. And I remember we drove, it was me, him, and his friend Dion. And it was just one of the most amazing drives because it drizzled a bit and we were talking radio and he was telling me how he's moving to Highveld. And I remember at the time I was like, why on earth would you move to Highveld? But the fact that he moved to Highveld is one of the things that inspired me to move to 5FM when I left YFM. Because I remember him telling me that when you move, try and move out of your comfort zone. And I've never forgotten that lesson that he taught me at the time that he moved to Highveld, because I was like, you're crazy, what on earth are you doing? And it made sense when it was time for me to leave YFM to go to, to go to my next place. And, 5FM happened naturally because the Bob Mabena School of Radio said to me, move outside of your comfort zone, go learn something. So I could tell you a million stories. Geez, I've got a million stories I could tell you about Bob, but what an amazing human being. What a charming man. I mean, and I think he charmed everyone without even trying.
Absolutely. I remember working at the SABC, and I think I was in my third year in the early 90s or so. And he used to walk down the corridor, those long corridors at Radio Park, those underground corridors, and he would always greet and wave and smile. And I remember once taking a trip with him, myself in fact. We went to Mamelodi for Hope Zende's son's christening. And he was a charming, lovely, wonderful person, and it's such an amazing tribute. You know, speaking to the family spokesperson just a few moments ago, a very good friend of his, Winston Maimani, and he just said he was an awesome human being. And what an amazing tribute to have. You know, what you achieve professionally is one thing, but to be remembered by professionals, connections, and friends alike as just a really kind person, as you've described him, as an awesome human being. That surely is the best legacy, isn't it?
In fact, and I often said that to him, that, Bob, you're so cool that I don't smoke, but you smoke so cool. I sometimes look at you smoke, and I'm like, I wish I smoked. Because his swagger, there was just something about Bob that was just like, I used to often call him the James Dean of radio. That you just have the swagger about you, that guys and girls just love you the same. It's just, yeah, geez, what a guy.
Absolutely, and extraordinarily good-looking as well. So that charm was just in bucket loads, but a kindness to it, which I think was always so wonderful. When was the last time you spoke, and was the news of his death, bearing in mind what the family spokesperson has told us, that he did have some health problems, the last time you spoke, and whether the news of his death is quite a shock to you?
In fact, so when lockdown happened all of 5 months ago, although it feels like 5 years now, I remember there was like a whole bunch of us within the arts that were all in one group. So we all chatted in that group. But so in terms of like physically talking, unfortunately, the last time I spoke to Bob was probably 6 months ago. But the last time I messaged him was for his birthday last week, though, because we were reminiscing about his birthday dinner last year, because he had a 50th birthday dinner last year, and he literally invited a handful of people, and I was mind blown by the fact that I made that list of a very select few people that have had an impact on his life, and I was like, Bob, why am I even on this list? And he's like, you have no idea how much you inspired me when you came into the industry, because it's young cats like yourself that keep some of us on our toes. And without young blood going into an industry, we often become complacent. And he was telling me that, it's guys like you that actually had me wake up and realize that if I don't, keep my bootstraps up, you guys could take my job. So yeah. So and the fact that he spoke about that is one of the reasons. For instance, I've mentored as many young people as I have, because that's how you keep yourself on your toes. You work with younger people because they've got wilder and more often better ideas than you, and those are the best people to work with. So I just found it fascinating that he appreciated me being in the industry as a younger broadcaster, for the same reason that I've mentored the younger people, because they keep you on your toes, and you need that. I think often we become complacent. When you've been broadcasting for 25 years, sometimes you're so in cruise control, you forget that you still need to make a bit of an effort.
And it just shows, it speaks to his character, because it suggests it's someone who's always interested to learn and develop and grow. Never a sense of, I've arrived and I'm it. I mean, this is a man who has worked in many different areas of the industry. His last days, of course, Power FM. But, he was always interested in people. And that interest and curiosity about people, that kindness, you can't fake that. That's from the heart, isn't it?
No, absolutely. I think, and in fact, another thing I've always appreciated about Bob. I remember when I started at YFM in 1997. I remember he messaged me the day we went live to say, listen, all the best with your new show this afternoon. And he'd listen and he'd send me messages and tell me what he thought of the show, or how he might have done something differently. Was he doing the same interview as I was doing? So he always watched from afar, but he always let me know that I see you, I'm watching what you're doing, and just keep at it. And as fate would have it, I remember December 97, after I'd done YFM for 2 months, he was getting ready to leave Studio Mix on SABC 1. And they invited, I think, about 10 of us to be guest presenters. Little did I know that they were auditioning for whoever's going to take over from Bob. And then I was asked to come back again the following week, and then the following week, and then I was offered a contract. So we did TV with Bob probably for about a year or less. And Bob was such a guy that, to this day, people will ask me, so how is it working with Bob on TV? We last did TV together in 1998, and people still ask about it. But if that is not a legacy, as a broadcaster, then what is?
Absolutely. And you know, it's such a crazy time for our country with COVID-19. And as you say, you hadn't seen him for a good 6 months, and I'm sure a lot of that was due to the lockdown. But were you aware whether he had any health problems? Was it a feature in his life? Is it something that became more of a problem as he got older?
Honestly, he never said a word to me. And a part of me is upset about that. But I mean, we'd also had conversations before about, you know, moments where he went through rough patches that I found out about after the fact. So we always had a tug of war about that, where I often said to him, like, why must we find out after the fact that you might have needed help? Yeah. I remember there was a time he went through a rough patch. It was years ago, but he spoke about it at some stage that, you know, things were so bad. I think he was working at an ad agency. That things were so bad that he'd often stay after everyone has left just so that he can take some sugar home. And I remember I shed a tear when I heard that story, and I was like, but why would you have to go through that when you have all of us here? Yeah. You know, so the fact that I'm finding out now, when he's gone, that he had health issues, for me, I don't know, it doesn't make sense to me. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But also, health is a private issue, so you know we can't hold it against people.
It's a good point, and it is a private issue. And you know, the first question we ask when we hear someone has passed is, was it COVID-19? We know that he did not die of COVID-19. He was tested on Saturday, but that is very, very true. And some people are they care more about others, and they don't want the focus on themselves. And it strikes me that he was that kind of man.
Absolutely. In fact, I should be the last one to complain about it. I lost an aunt of mine last year. We found out a month before she passed away that she'd been living with cancer for a couple of years, and she didn't want to burden us, she said, with the fact that she had cancer. So, you know, for some people, that's what it is. You know, I will deal with it myself, and I'm not going to burden everyone else with it.
You know, DJ Fresh, you say you've got so many memories of Bob Mabena. If I had to ask you for the one that's probably going to stay with you most, what is it?
The fondest memory of Bob was our drive in his BMW 5 Series from Sandton to Botswana. We gigged and we drove back. And I remember I just bought the brand new The Brat CD, Sitting on Top of the World. And we played that entire CD all the way there and back. For me, that's my fondest memory of Bob. And the fact that I made it onto the guest list for his 50th. It was literally a handful of people, and I was on the guest list. For me, that will be in my book when the book comes out.
Thank you so much for sharing your memories, DJ Fresh, and I hope that they're a comfort to you at this time. And thank you very much for sparing us some time this evening at a sad...
Thank you. Thanks for doing this.
And certainly, broadcasting is the poorer for the loss of Bob Mabena, 51 years old. He died today. We know it was not COVID-19, and we understand it was a cardiac arrest that he had been battling lung problems. We will continue to bring people onto the show this evening, people who want to share his memories and pay tribute to a man who's been described this evening as an awesome human being, and by DJ Fresh as a very kind man. What an extraordinary tribute, and what an extraordinary man.